You're listening to the Ballet Piano Podcast, lifting the lid on dance accompaniment.
Hello, listeners and viewers, and welcome back to this episode. If anybody wants to know why Matt's giggling, Akiko and I just had a little kiss in the air just before the theme music
Well,
started.
it's going to be caught on camera, isn't it?
Well, it is, yes.
So,
Okay, right.
no
Bless.
explanation needed.
Check social media for that. This episode, we're going to be talking about communication, which, I mean, you've listened to us enough now. You know, we're nearly 60 episodes in. Communication is a vital part of a ballet class, a ballet rehearsal, a ballet company. It's everything. And talking about communication, around the table with us is Akiko Hobson.
Hello.
Matt Gregory.
Hello, listeners.
And David Yao.
Hi, everybody.
So communication in any sort of class, be it, you know, a little Dolly Dinkles dance school around the corner, contemporary, ballet, a rehearsal, and even in a performance, communication is absolutely vital. And it takes so many different forms, doesn't it?
Yes.
You know, from the sort of verbal communication that a teacher gives during an exercise, when they're setting an exercise, to, you know, the way that a conductor will conduct and have eye communication with the stage and with the orchestra. But what we're going to focus on today, I'm guessing predominantly, is where our natural habitat, which is the ballet studio. So we're going to talk about ballet classes and ballet rehearsals and communication.
I just think as well, on this topic, I think as a ballet pianist and or teacher, you can't just assume anything, really.
No.
Even if you think, oh, I'm being patronizing by really spelling it out and being clear. If it's the first time you're working with a teacher or a pianist, you have to be that clear.
Yeah.
Totally.
Until you know how to read each other. And then you can shorthand things. You know, and actually some teachers and pianists probably have their own nonverbals and their own little gestures and languages that they know what that means.
Yeah. It's like a couple, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. You need to have a communication no matter how long you are together.
How long do you think it
Christopher?
takes to get that kind of communication, the way you feel comfortable between, you know, a teacher and a pianist?
I think it varies, doesn't it? It depends. I think I find I get on better with teachers in the studio that I have a decent relationship with, sort of on a personal level. So with people like you, David, and other teachers, you know, who we have been colleagues with for many years, you know, if we go for a beer and things like that, I often find that I have really good communication. I struggle sometimes with people who not struggle, that's the wrong way. I think I find it slightly harder personally with people who I don't have many things in common with.
Right.
And yeah, of course I will always be professional. I just find it maybe harder to read things.
Yeah, definitely.
It's like the early stages of a relationship. I mean, like we said, what was it? You know, the horror stories and things like that, and the disastrous first dates when we're comparing first classes and things, you know, many years ago. It takes time, doesn't it? And does it depend on experience? Sorry, Matt, I'll let you speak in a second. Does it also depends on the experience of the teacher and the pianist. I think if you've got a very experienced teacher and a very experienced pianist, they might not necessarily get on, but they know what they need to get through it. If you've got an experienced teacher and a very inexperienced pianist, then it will take longer to build up that communication simply because the pianist maybe doesn't know what the teacher is communicating, and vice versa. You know, you've got an experienced pianist, the teacher doesn't know what to give to the pianist maybe. So I don't know, maybe, what Matt said, spelling it out.
I'm looking for eye contact.
Yes.
So as soon as I'm setting an exercise, or there's bits of the exercises that I want, like either to go faster or slower or something, or we're coming to a resolve or something, earlier on, I'm looking towards the pianist to see if they're paying attention or they're really involved in the music. If they're really involved in the music, I'm going to walk closer.
Yeah.
That they can feel a presence, that there's something going to happen. And then that helps the communication. Because if you're miles away from your pianist, often it's very difficult to feel that connection.
Yeah. I mean, we've said this, I think, before. I would guess it's probably best practice. Even if you're reading when you're playing, you've got to learn a bit like accompanying a singer or an instrumentalist. You've got to have one eye on your score and one eye on the teacher because your teacher is effectively your conductor. So like I remember, David, your warm-up, it could be sort of like 16 or 32 bars at one tempo, then it speeds up for 16 bars, then it slows down and it might speed up again.
Yeah.
And you'd vary it week on week, but you would know that simply by watching you because you would sort of, you'd get your arms in the air and sort of like, giving the speed up gestures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I always like to have the teacher in my eye line. You know, like in that previous episode where I said the teacher was on the edge of the stage. I was in the pit. If I can't see them, I almost feel blind. And some studios, certainly at Pineapple, like an L shape. So if the teacher's around the corner, I can't quite see them.
Wow.
It makes it harder. I always like to have the teacher in my eye line.
Yeah.
So I always say to the dancers, "Oh, just give me a window."
Yeah.
Because as the teacher is either they're singing the steps or the rhythm or the counts, or they're instructing second side or whatever to the dancers, I'm obviously picking up on that as well. So it's for me as well as it's for the dancers. So, and you know, sometimes Amber doesn't even say thank you to me. She'll just wink at me.
Yeah.
And I know that means...
Or the thumbs up.
Yeah. You know, she's not even... I just know what that means.
Yeah.
And go back to what you're saying about if you know the teacher on a personal level, you know, some teachers that you become friends with and you do know them personally. And if the teacher's a very open teacher, you can really read quickly their nonverbals. You know, if they're very open to giving you a thumbs up or, you know, slow, you know, all the nonverbals that we know. If they're an open person and if you're open as a pianist, you can read those things very quickly.
Definitely.
Because you can't just always assume that it's going to be like that because it might be a last minute change along the way. And then you might miss the sign. So you have to always keep an eye on the teacher, don't you? Yeah.
I think it's really important. I don't like it when I can't see the teacher setting.
Oh,
I know, like what you just said,
100%.
like you can hear stuff,
Yeah.
but you're only hearing the teacher's interpretation. I want to actually see
definitely.
what they're doing. Because
Yes.
sometimes what the teacher is saying doesn't completely correspond with what
Sometimes
they're...
the teacher will set on the other side of the piano that I can't see. So I'll just look in the mirror
Mirror,
at the
yes.
side and see them setting it. I need to see what their legs are
Using
doing,
your
or
mirror
their
is-
arms, or their... Look, in my camera, I'm doing
Because
all this.
sometimes they mark on that certain rhythm, but knowing the steps, you know it's going to be a bit slower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or it's like if somebody marks a tondu, and I know the tondu is always my go-to example just because it's easy. But if the teacher's just going 1 and 2, and you want to see how they're doing, that was so good. I'm so artistic. But you want to see how you're going to play it. Are you going to play that straight? Are you going to play it on a rumba? Are you going to play it on a tango? Are you going to play it on a habanero? Are you going to swing it? What are you going to do to it?
A slight horror story. A teacher at a company that we all know, he saw, I'm going to do this in the camera. I can do this visual now. He stood on the other side of the piano and just went like that at me.
He stuck 2 fingers.
2-4. He wanted me to play something while he set his exercise.
Oh.
I didn't know where he was up to at the bar.
And did you just think, have I
and
played really badly?
I picked my coffee off the floor and I was having a sip. And he went 2-4. I was like, quick, put the coffee down. Just play something for him to mark his exercise to. Renato.
At least with people, I
Love
wasn't
you.
telling you to have off. See, I didn't need the beep. I self-edited. But I tried this once.
But
you know,
yeah, I like to always see the legs
you've
and
got to
feet.
see.
Yeah.
I tried it once in lockdown because, you know, I mean, we spoke about this, so you could go back and listen. But I tried muting sometimes, just when I was really bored. So they said, okay, right, next one is Tondu. So you can, like, you know, the teachers, you can sort of guess. But I tried to sort of just mute the screen for 45 seconds.
Oh, wow.
Just to see what I could understand from it. 'Cause, David, I was so bored. I'm type 1 diabetic. I had to isolate for a long time. But it was just, it was curious. And I realized actually I rely a lot more on the visual communication for exercise setting than I do for audio. And I thought it was the other way around. So doing that was
Interesting, isn't it?
it was a surprise to me.
You muted that occasion, but you forgot to mute when our son came home from the school.
Yeah, that's another. Basically, Joshua came home from the school, and I was still shielding at home. And he came home, didn't know that I was online. He's like, "Guess what, Chris? Guess what I learned in school today? What? I learned about the penis, the testicles, and the vagina." Which was then Matt's just died. But that was
into
then
the studio.
broadcasting to a school in the Western Hemisphere through their speakers, and everybody heard it. Yeah. So So moving on from people's personal body parts and back to ballet and communication. We've finished swiping right and left now. David, for a teacher, what is helpful for you in terms of communication from the pianist? I know we like to have eye contact, but is there anything, what do you find useful? Is it just that eye communication, or is there other things that a pianist can do to make your life easier in terms of communication?
In terms of communication, I mean, that is the main thing, is to have a clear line of sight. And for any new teachers, when you're setting an exercise, do be sure that your pianist can see you, because they need to actually, as I was saying, to pick up all the non-verbal information that you're giving out when you set an exercise. But also, what we also talk about is knowing your pianist and talking to them outside of the classroom, understanding what music they like, what things they find challenging or whatever, really helps you in the classroom.
Yes.
Because then you can go to your go-tos, your favorites, and say, oh, you were talking about this. I love that tune.
Yeah.
Can you play that? Da, 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 da. And your pianist will bend over backwards trying to help you in the classroom. And if you can just help them by actually going to their favorites, it's way easier then all the way around.
I think outside of class communication is actually quite key. I mean, I learned so much about what you like. Do you remember when Sondheim died? I didn't realize how much of a fan of Sondheim you were. So we did a whole class with stuff that he'd composed or was the lyricist for just after he'd passed away. Yeah. But knowing, I think for teachers and musicians, knowing what each of you likes makes for an easier class, and also being honest about the things that you don't like.
Absolutely.
Or maybe as a pianist, the things that you might not feel comfortable playing.
Yes.
Because we've all got different... Shush, Kiko, I'm speaking. This is cheaper than counselling. We've all got our favourite things that we like, and we've all got our limitations.
Absolutely.
And also, okay, now I can.
Go on. You are allowed to speak.
And also, if you know slightly each other in the personal level outside the studio, and it's a bit easier to ask questions during the class as well.
Yes. True.
Just a little question that you're not sure.
Yes.
Which I kind of struggled when I was young.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to ask?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as you know the teacher, it's a lot easier to just have little, confirmation, which is quite
or
easy.
even that thing if you're unsure, either the teacher's been unclear or the pianist hasn't been paying attention, that ability just to be able to go, I'm sorry, was that a 3 or a 4?
Yeah.
Yes.
And to feel okay with that. Developing some sort of relationship with your teacher.
Essential, yeah.
I've even started a pirouette exercise from the corner where no one said if the tempo's right or wrong. But I just think, this feels a little bit quick to me.
Yeah.
I'll just ask one of the dancers as they walk past whilst I'm playing.
Yeah.
Is this a bit quick? And they say, oh, no, it's all right.
Gosh, you can talk while you can play.
Or they'll say, someone will look over to me and be like,
yeah, they give you the eye.
Yeah, and I'll just pull it back a little bit.
And your musical dancers in your class or in your company, don't you? So you can know, and sometimes if you've got a teacher that maybe sets things speedy and doesn't slow things down a little bit, you can sort of tell by watching, and somebody else all of a sudden confirms your thoughts. And you're like, okay, right, it is fine to pull it back or to take it up a notch a little bit.
I envy you can talk while you can play.
I've had full-on conversations.
No, so
this is sort of at the open classes where there's potential for accidents.
Yeah.
I'll call the teacher over while I'm playing and say such a body's being dangerous. Can you just mention that, or somebody's chewing gum and I don't know CPR if they swallow it, all that.
Wow.
I think that needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
Because I can see it and they can't.
Yeah.
I'll play and just say, I'll just, gesture over with my head and then we'll have a little chat whilst I'm still playing. And
so I have a serious issue because English is my second language.
Yeah.
When I play piano, I somehow cannot talk in English.
I think this is not based on scientific fact in any way. It's based on my idea. That because I tried to speak to you once in English and you couldn't respond when you were playing.
I can talk in
But
Japanese.
you can talk in data. And then we used to have a colleague who now works in Spain. So hello to Juan Antonio Mata. I hope you and your family are well. Judas, for leaving us. And I tried to speak to Juan once when he was playing for a contemporary class. And I was asking him if he wanted to go to the pub for a pint after work. Because that was important.
It's a really important stuff.
It really was. But he couldn't respond. And I was like, that's really weird. And then on one of the 5 or 6 occasions when I have tried to learn Japanese, I thought I could learn Japanese behind the piano. So I had my workbook. No.
You have your wildest ideas behind the piano, don't you?
Yeah, marriage planning. But I thought what I can do is I can say these sentences in my head, and then when I'm playing the piano, I can just say them to myself. And I'm playing stuff that I can play from muscle memory. I can play it when I'm drunk. I can play it when I'm tired. I can do it when I've got jet lag. I couldn't play.
No.
Speak Japanese.
And I was reading the words. I couldn't do it. Wow. But actually, what I also can't do...
But you can read in English.
But I can read in English. Yeah. I've read novels behind the piano in previous lives.
But sometimes, like quite often, teacher comes to talk to you when the dancers are doing stretch to have like, how are you kind of thing. And I had so many occasions and I just cannot
reply in English.
Like, how's your family? No.
Yeah.
Oh, that must be so tricky.
I understand. But what doesn't come out?
I don't know. I'm convinced it must be the same bit of the brain that you use to play that you use for your second language.
I can say in Japanese, not a problem.
Yeah.
So if we've got anybody who understands this scientific,
please let us know if any of our listeners know that this
more
is
about this than we do.
The other, I'm talking back to the communication.
Yes, it's about communication.
Yeah. One of the things I recently kind of, I didn't think about that is that, I try to be polite behind the piano in the studio because I just want to be a present person and also it helps communication. But one of the teacher that mentioned to me that some of the pianists would give some like eye rolling, some sort of gesture that they're not happy, basically, without voicing it. But you can see from just the facial expression
and the body language and
body
stuff.
languages and things. And apparently that put the teachers off so much. And I never thought about it that way. And I was like, actually, yeah, probably true. What do you think, David?
No, I agree. Because of the art form, we're so dependent and sort of like attuned to non-verbal things that go on in terms of communication. So of course, if we see that in the environment, we're drawn to it because it's something different. And so I completely understand that. But that works both ways, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The teachers rolling their eyes as well. I'm sure that's really off-putting for you too. So,
if I'm going into a class with a teacher for the first time, I'm so open because I want that rapport immediately.
Yeah.
And if they somehow close off or shut off because they don't want to give me themselves, that immediately makes me go a bit,
yes.
We've got an hour and a half of this.
Yeah.
And without meaning to eye roll or give the body language, it doesn't set you off on the right foot.
That's true.
And of course, you're the one that's guessing for an hour and a half. They're not guessing what you're going to play. You're guessing what they're going to set.
I've started asking teachers now that because I'm, of course, newly freelance. I'm playing for many more teachers than I've played for previously, and a whole variety of teachers. So I've just started saying to the teachers at the start of the class, I walk in, introduce myself. It's lovely to meet you. How's it going? How's your day? Please tell me, is there anything you absolutely detest? Or is there anything you adore? I was like, and then if I know it, I can play it. But at least I know what to avoid, because if there's something that gives you, an awful nightmare, an awful flashback from something, then I'm going to do my best to avoid that. Or if I don't like you, I'll play it.
You think you're playing French music is going to get the French teachers on side, and it doesn't.
That was an error. But then sometimes
you do. I try and do that. I think, what nationality is this teacher? I'll try and play something that they might know. Or if it's a teacher that's been in a prestigious musical, I think, they might like that. And sometimes the PTSD, they just don't want to hear it.
We once used to do this at a Western Hemisphere school back in the day. We'd look at what the nationality of many of the students were, and we'd see if we could get in all of the national anthems during a ballet class. And a Spanish teacher freaking out because 2 of the Spanish boys in the class didn't know the Spanish national anthem. I think I got not Insta famous, but I got Instagram liked quite a lot at one point for playing the South Korean national anthem.
Wow.
Because it was a South Korean dancer in the school.
Yeah.
Do you learn these off sheet music?
Yeah.
They were all stored in the iPad.
Fair enough.
There was a separate folder that said
But we can
national
quickly
anthems.
Google it, don't you? Yeah.
Oh, true.
But not
Yeah.
the Japanese national anthem. It doesn't work.
It's
We-
so far from square.
Really?
It's not square, and then I think
It's not even
there is a
octagonal.
time signature change within the anthem.
Oh, I
It's,
see.
I play it for you
Okay,
later. Yeah.
Wow.
It's not suitable. Yeah, I've never done the Japanese one.
No, you can't play in the ballet class. No.
You did the God Save the Queen, didn't you, when Queen Elizabeth died?
Oh yeah, that got a lot of likes on Instagram.
Is your handle at Akiko Hobson?
Yeah.
Yeah, just checking.
She's got two.
No, I've got one now.
Oh yeah, it's just the one now.
Oh.
Yeah, Akiko's not double ending Instagram. She's just going for the
I
single.
didn't notice.
Oh, I tell you later.
Okay.
Something bad happened on it. No, it didn't at all.
No.
Right. So communication, and ultimately communication can lead you to funny things. Like it can. I dread to think how many hundreds and thousands of pounds communication led me and David out to spend in a pub in the Western Hemisphere, or on a wedding in the centre of London, or on a trip to Japan last year, Matt. So ultimately, communication in ballet, it makes your life better.
Yes.
And
Always.
we've said everywhere, everybody wants to go into the studio to have a nice time, to achieve something, and for it to be a pleasant and enjoyable experience for all. And that's, I think this table is testament to that, because we've done so much together in communicate. And this is the end of the podcast. No, it's not the end of the but it does, and it will lead to so many different things. So just for teachers and pianists to be completely open with each other
Yeah.
and be as honest as you're willing to be about what you want, it's going to make your classes and your rehearsals easier.
I mean, we're not asking for life experiences and personal stories
No,
and
just-
therapy.
Just
On a-
going
on
in
a
there and being honest
professional
about
level.
your professionalism.
Yeah.
And it can lead to all sorts of, fun and enjoyable
Yeah.
experiences.
I mean, gorgeous Cynthia Harvey said to me, because I said to her, "Oh, it's so lovely to play for you because
she's
it's just
lovely.
easy and drama free." And she's
Yeah.
like, "Well, there's too much drama in the world. We don't need any more. The dancers don't need drama. I don't need drama. You don't need drama."
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
that just hit that spot on.
Yeah.
She comes with no expectations or preconceived ideas about what anybody might do. And she's completely open to giving her class, seeing what happens, trusting the dancers and the pianist. And you just get to the end and everyone's had a joyous time with no drama.
That's what we want.
And if,
isn't it?
if there's a bit of a mistake, it's like, oh, well, on to the next thing.
Nobody died.
Nobody
No,
dwells
exactly.
on it. So
Definitely. So listen, for more fun insights, why not check in on the social medias? Because there's going to be videos posted of us
Yeah.
playing, and there's reels, there's all sorts of fun things on there. So our Instagram and Facebook handles are at Ballet Piano Podcast. Or if you prefer to email, you can contact us at balletpianopodcast@gmail.com. Any questions, anything you'd like to raise for discussion, any episode topics?
my Instagram handle is MattJG1711. Give us a little follow.
David doesn't have Instagram, and I've gone over.
But he's got a hashtag.
I've
though.
given up
He's
with the
got his
hashtag.
own
guys, didn't you?
hashtag.
David Yeo of
Yeah.
Instagram.
Right, so listen, for now, it's goodbye from me.
Bye bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.